I'm Greg Tepper. In the ether is Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Recruiting.
It's This Week in Recruiting with our friend Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. And, of course, see his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. This, of course, brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Powers, how are you?
Great. As you guys are listening to this, I'm enjoying a Chicken Express tender right now.
Wait,
so
are you
being in the ether, you can eat a Chicken Express tender while you're doing the recruiting pod. It's awesome.
Is that why you can't be on video today? Is because you just had a hankering for a Chicken Express
Please
tender
tell me yes.
during the recruiting segment?
The answer should be yes.
Totally tied up. 4 Chicken Express tenders, side of mozzarella sticks, bowl of gravy, extra roll. Get at me.
He didn't say. Let's acknowledge that he didn't say side of gravy. He said bowl of gravy, which is the only way that it should be. Good job, Powers.
Let's get to the recruiting news of the world, especially here in the state of Texas. A lot to get to. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. Prospect on the rise. Let's go to Killeen Shoemaker, one of the surprises of the year this year in Class 6A, and they have a big-time playmaker named Monaray Baldwin. Monaray Baldwin was committed to Incarnate Word, going the FBS route, but he has changed his commitment. He is now heading to Baylor, picked up an offer from the Bears, and pretty much immediately committed to the Bears. What can you tell us about the kind of playmaker that the Bears are getting in Monaray Baldwin?
Well, first off, the thing that jumps out on his highlight tape is going to be his yard after the catch production. This guy is amazing with the football in his hand. Makes defenders miss. He's just a big-time playmaker as he ducks and dodges, tackles, racking up big yards. And you can even see some stuff when they use him in some different ways out of the slot and gets in some carries on reverses. But he also plays defense and special teams. And anytime he gets his hands on the football, he's a threat to score. The recruits on Twitter right now are kind of calling this decommit season. It's an unusual recruiting year with the pandemic and recruits not being able to go out and see some of these colleges in person. And Baylor has been bit a little bit by the decommitment bug themselves. They've lost a commitment from Al Presley, a talented wide receiver up in the Dallas area. They recently lost a commitment from Roderick Daniels, who we'll get to in a little bit, from Duncanville. Now that opened the door for Baldwin, who was committed, but when he got that P5 offer and can just go up the street now and play in the Big 12, I think it was a no-brainer for him to make that decision. And I think, I didn't know a lot about him before this commitment. He's a really good player and deserves some of the attention that he's getting this week, especially being named prospect on the rise at DCTF.
Yeah, it's an underrated player that Baylor was able to snag from Incarnate Word in Monterey Baylor from Killeen Shoemaker. Let's go to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Duncanville wide receiver Roderick Daniels. Roderick Daniels, we had hinted at this before. This is a guy who I believe was committed to Baylor, decommitted from the Bears. He has committed this week to SMU. He's heading to the Mustangs. The Ponies get the number 67 prospect in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100, our number 13 ranked receiver in the state, and a guy who, he's not lacking for speed. That's for one thing.
No doubt about that. Speed is the name of his game. He's a very electric wide receiver in the slot. Duncanville has leaned on him heavily over the last few years to make plays within their offense, and he's just one of these guys who is a great football player in addition to having all the skill sets that you like at the wide receiver position. The hand, the acceleration, the speed, the make-you-miss ability in the open field, but he plays hard. And I think that that's something that you really have to take into account. And I do, especially when I'm doing rankings. There are a lot of guys who have high upside and physical intangibles, but how are they snap to snap? Roderick Daniels is one of those guys who you're watching on every play, whether he's blocking or running the football or working across the middle of the field. He's a really talented player. And I kind of want to also just mention that SMU's doing a really good job in recruiting right now in the Lone Star State, especially with high school prospects. They've concentrated a lot on the transfer market and the transfer portal and are able to get instant impact contributors there. But their success has really been felt within the high school ranks. When you have a guy like Roderick Daniels coming from P5 to play at SMU, that kind of signifies something to me. And then you mix in some of the top recruits that they have this year, namely a Preston Stone. You have to take notice of that, And now, where does this leave SMU with Savion Byrd, Roderick Daniels' teammate at Duncanville? They have been a player in this recruitment. They have positioned themselves well. He's also looking at schools like Oklahoma, Texas A&M, et cetera. But SMU could be in a favorable position, I think, with Savion Byrd, who is one of the top-rated offensive tackles in the entire country.
Yeah, that would be a huge coup for SMU. It's already a big deal for them to get a guy like Roderick Daniels onto their board. But if they can do the Duncanville two-step there and grab Savion Byrd, then we'd be talking about serious cooking with gas. We're talking with Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation, #TF Today. Let's move on, Powers, and let's talk about our Underclassmen of the Week. And for the Underclassmen of the Week, we're going for the DFW Metroplex down to Houston, to Katy Morton Ranch, and their 2023 defensive end DJ Hicks. He had a very big week, very nice week for DJ Hicks, the sophomore defensive end. He picked up offers, already had offers from SMU, from places in the FBS level, and now he adds TCU, Arizona State, and UTSA in the span of the week. This is a guy that I know is on our radar for the 2023, and it seems like these are some schools that are trying to get in early on a guy who could be a rising star.
Yeah, he was one of those guys who made DCTF Rising last year, was in that top 25 freshman group. And if you're a fan of underclass prospects, then here's your chance. DCTF Rising is coming out in a couple of weeks. We have all of our lists, updated class of 2023 rankings, and we have that first look at these types of freshmen in the 2024 class, freshmen in the 2024 class that are going to be rising like DJ Hicks. As a matter of fact, after we put Hicks in that top 25, I invited him to the Next Level Athlete Texas Top 100 showcase in Houston, and he really opened some eyes there. He has a lightning quick first step. And there were some upperclassmen at that event who were really good, but I think Hicks had the quickest first step out of anybody at that event. He was still very raw in his developmental process, needed to work on his technique. He had not even played any at all varsity at that time. So now he's getting his chance to shine on varsity tape, and these big schools are starting to notice, and he's opening those eyes. Such a great week for him. Gary Patterson, hey, he knows something about defensive talent, and when he offers a sophomore, you should take note of that. DJ Hicks is going to be a guy who everybody offers by the time it's said and done.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is you take a look at guys, and obviously head coaches are signing off on these offers, before they maybe don't do the grunt work of going and tracking down the film and things like that, but they are signing off on the offers. And when you take a look at the guys who are offering them, right, Sonny Dykes offers them at SMU, Gary Patterson offers them at TCU, Jeff Traylor offers them at UTSA, like, those are guys who know their way around defensive units, and it's going to be really
Hey, Jeff.
Good.
Don't forget about Herm Edwards.
Yeah. Herm Edwards at Arizona State as well. So a lot, there's a lot to be said for getting the kind of seal of approval from some of the great football minds out there, and DJ Hicks from Katy Morton Ranch certainly has that. Let's round things out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week is a guy who is not a flying under the radar. No. He is one of the very best prospects in the class of 2021. It's Katy Taylor offensive guard Bryce Foster, and he announced that he is going to be committing. He's going to be committing 16 days from today. December 18th, he will be committing. He has named his top 5, A&M, Texas, LSU, Oregon, and Oklahoma. And this is a guy, it's really interesting. If you take a look at what he said, he says he wants a good education. I think all those schools will provide a good education. Prepare him for the future in the NFL. I think that goes without saying that I think all of those programs have put some guys in the NFL. Also, he wants to prepare for the 2024 Olympics. So to me, I don't know, this is just me. That makes me think Oregon. That makes me think that Oregon may be, in fact, I know they're a little bit off the board from a regional perspective, but if you're talking about Olympic, Olympic hopes, Oregon's got one of those athletic programs that does that.
I think the good thing is if you're closer to home and you're one of these schools like Oklahoma or A&M or Texas, is the pandemic in this recruitment. He hasn't had a chance to go visit Oregon. And I think that I would agree with you 100% if he was able to place his feet on the ground and go see that place, because it is quite an amazing place. They have great facilities, and you kind of touched on that Olympic focus. So, yes, in most years, I think that this would make a lot of people nervous based on the criteria that he is searching for. The one school that I'm really keeping a close eye on, and he could end up in state at Texas or Texas A&M, but I'm really watching Oklahoma closely in this one, and here's why. Bryce Foster, whose nickname is the Mountain, by the way, that ought to tell you anything you need to know, and I'm hoping I'm talking long enough for everybody to see this kid's freakish highlights from his senior year where he's just chucking people around on the field. Bryce Foster played some center this year. Mm-hmm. He never played center before, and now he's transitioned in and got some reps playing center as well. So he's expanded his versatility. Oklahoma just so happens to probably be losing center Creed Humphrey, who is a lot like Bryce Foster. Came in and played right away at a young age at Oklahoma, and now is going to be an NFL draft pick, who's a monster. So he's not just one of these quick and agile centers. Oklahoma likes to use big, strong, and powerful centers in the middle of their offensive line, and Bryce Foster fits that description. So that's what I'm really watching closely because of the fit and the chance for him to play right away at OU at center and take over for Creed Humphrey. That's the school I'm really keeping my close eye on here in that top five.
And to be clear, I maybe wasn't clear enough. This is a guy, and when he says 2024 Olympics, he is like one of the nation's top shot putters in his age group, which I think you can see he's basically shot putting opponents here in this film. So that's why he's got an eye on the 2024 Olympics. Yes, he wants to play football, and I think he wants to play in the NFL, but he's got other goals as well. A guy who's always at the top of our goals is Greg Powers.
Our mountain.
Our mountain. Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, appreciate your time. Let's do it again next week.
I'll see y'all.